Welcome to episode 6 of my Stitch Diaries. It's my fairly new episodes of videos and it's the first one of 2022. So happy new year to you. Now it feels like such a long time since I've sat in front of the camera and it's only been about a week, maybe a week and a day, something like that. And do you know what? I've really actually missed speaking to you every single day. I've really thoroughly enjoyed December, but I will admit it's been quite nice not having to watch the videos. But the problem is watching the videos back and trying to piece things together, and then it just takes up too much time, to be doing it all the time. But it's a lovely thing to do throughout December. Now I know I try to thank everybody individually in comments and things, and I chat to everybody, and hopefully I haven't missed anything, but I just want to thank everybody that has thanked me for all my videos in December. It really means a lot, so thank you so much. I really appreciate the comments. Now you might be wondering, am I okay? Now I have had a few messages saying, are you okay? Because yes, it has been a little while, hasn't it, since I've sat in front of the camera, but it's only been about a week, so it's not too long. But I have been busy. Now I'm trying to, that's the trouble with when you don't film every day, it's trying to think about everything you've been doing, and I haven't wrote a list, so hopefully I won't forget anything I want to tell you. But no fear, what I'll do is, if I feel when I finish filming there's something I wanted to talk to you about that I've missed, I'll just come back, maybe today, maybe another day, and post the video another day. Now you might be able to spot I've got little Eric sitting here. Now Eric is a cool crafting pattern. I had him as a kit and he was the Christmas surprise. So it was something you could pre-book earlier in the year, and then you got it early December, and then you meant to open it at Christmas. But if you've been watching my videos, you know that I did have a sneaky peek in the box, and there was 2 surprises. You could have an outfit or an animal or both, and I pre-ordered both. Now poor Eric, unfortunately he's still naked. Now I was in 2 minds whether to bring this video to you today, because I really wanted him to have his clothes, and I've always been I've been asked to show some how to do some red work and is it easy, and I wanted to show you a video of me doing that. As it happened, I did start filming, just ironing on an iron-on transfer for one of my November blocks, and in fact everything was kind of going wrong, because I went to do the first one I attempted to do, the fabric wasn't big enough that had come in my Secret Society package, and then I was having to measure them up, and it turns out only one of them would fit and the other one wouldn't. And then I wanted to a spray bottle, and my water bottle, the actual bit that you pull had come off, and it was just going wrong. So I'm really sorry to the person that I've promised in my next video I'm going to show a demonstration of red work, but unfortunately it just wasn't working out, and I just kind of thought, oh no, this is not the time, right? So yeah, I'm yet to do the red work video, which I have promised somebody. I have started doing some embroidery on one of my Corinne Lapierre 12 Days of Christmas. Now I've kind of promised myself that I'm going to do, I said I've got 9 more to do. I'm going to try and get 1 done a month minimum, and I've made a real good progress actually on one already, and we're only the 3rd of January, so yeah, I'm not doing too bad. So I started that between Christmas and New Year, and then I ended up putting it down, and then basically I'll show you what I knitted as well, which was the final make of 2021, and I started something else and now I finished that, but I'll get to that in a moment. So unfortunately at the moment Eric is naked, and also I'm not entirely happy with how I've stuffed his legs. I feel like he's got a few little thin bits that, because what it is, after a while the stuffing starts settling down, and yeah, I'm not that happy. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll try and find bits where I'm not all that keen. I'm going to unpick some stitches. See his legs bending a little bit. I'm going to unpick the stitches, and you're not going to even see them because he's going to have clothes on. And I've gone over my original Luna before, over her stitches, and it's very forgiving in this lovely wool felt. So I'm going to basically unpick his legs and put some extra stuffing in there. So that's something. I still haven't ironed off the dot that I marked for the dart, but that will disappear. And also, he hasn't got a tail. Now, I realised I'd forgotten his tail, but then I couldn't find any pattern pieces I'd cut out, and I couldn't actually find the pattern pieces, but I've since found them. They was in my ironing basket. So Eric has yet to have a tail. So what I can actually do is I can unpick his legs, stuff his legs, and I can do his tail for him, can't I? It isn't a massive deal because he's going to be wearing clothes, but I am going to give him his tail. Now, what I have done in the way of his clothes, and I'm glad actually I saw something on Facebook because I would have missed it and I could have made a mistake. Now, I've cut out all of his clothes. So there's front and back pieces, 2 of those, and there's the waistband piece. So his trousers are all cut. His waistcoat pieces are cut. You've cut 2 pieces for the front, 1 on the fold for the back, and 2 pocket pieces. Those are all ready to go. So it's just a case of basically sitting here and sewing. And basically what I've done today is I actually, do you know what I told you? I basically sewed Eric. I actually did it standing up. I didn't do it sitting down because I'd got my chair somewhere else and I couldn't be bothered to get it, and there was stuff on top of it. But I've put a chair now in front of the sewing machine that I'm currently using, so at least I'll be a bit more comfortable when I sew. Now I thought I'd cut out all the pieces for his coat. Now I'm glad I went on onto Facebook because I'd cut them all out: the hood, the sleeves, the upper front, the lower front, the back sleeve, and the duffel coat back, 2 pockets, and more pockets. So I thought I was done. Oh, and I'd cut out the yoke for the coat. But what it turns out, you need to cut out the lining fabric. Now you get this stripy fabric, and I thought that was just for the fish, because you get a fish pattern, but you've got to cut the yoke out in that stripy bit, so, and you cut it on the fold. So I've cut that out first. It doesn't give you all that much left really to do the fish, because I was thinking of doing a seam on my fish, like a one down the middle, so I could stuff it like that. But yeah, but I'll see what I can do. I can always use some different fabric for the fish. I think Sarah might have actually included that pattern because it just squeezed in the pattern piece nicely. Right, excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of my drink. Oh, actually, in one of my past videos, I said that I'd met Sarah Peel, and she's the designer of the Luna Lappin and Friends animals, and it turns out I haven't, right? I haven't met her. What it is, I bought my first supplies to make Luna. I'd already got the book. I think I'd got the book. And then when I went to the Festival of Quilts one year, there was a shop that was selling all Luna Lappin supplies. And now I don't know for sure if this seller has anything to do with core crafting. I don't actually know, or if they just basically sell the books and the kits and things but I don't know if they work for Sarah or they're just an independent company. But I thought the lovely lady that I've actually bought from a few times. Sorry, I was messing with some thread then, if you wonder what I'm doing with my hand. I thought that was Sarah Peel, and I thought she was the designer, and it wasn't. It was a dark-haired lady. But I've since found out, I've seen the videos of Sarah, and she's actually a fair-haired lady. This lady, they're just not the same lady. She's not dyed her hair or anything. They're not the same people. So I haven't met Sarah Peel. So I don't know if Sarah watches my videos. I'm sure Sarah meets many people, but she probably thinks, oh no, I don't remember meeting you. It's because you haven't, Sarah, you haven't met me. I got it wrong. I met somebody else. And then when I actually saw what you looked like and heard your voice, I realised the person I thought was Sarah Peel wasn't. So never mind. So anyway, so Eric will be getting some clothes. I'm getting one step closer. I've got a chair in front of my sewing machine, you know, so that's good going, isn't it? And maybe I'll put some yellow thread in my sewing machine. So unless I do the trousers first, who knows? But Eric is wearing a pair of shoes at the moment, and they're a pair of shoes that I knitted for my knitted doll. Do you know the Arnie and Carlos knitted doll? I think I knitted her, oh gosh, I can't remember what year I knitted her, but it was years ago, years and years ago. But I have tinkered with her, haven't I, recently? And I made her some socks, which I have already showed you. But actually, last night I was messing with her again. I still wasn't entirely happy with her eyes. Her eyes look so odd. So what I ended up doing, and it was quite a job actually, I pulled all because I didn't do the eyes how you were supposed to. With the Arnie and Carlos knitted dolls, you're supposed to knit the head and you leave holes for the eyes, and then the eyes you knit separately and then sew them in. But in their summer garden book, I've got the books to hand, so I will show you them. They'd got knit a hippie doll, and the hippies you embroider the eyes. So when I knitted my doll, I'd already got the summer book, and I embroidered the eyes on like the hippies. Now initially I made them like the hippie eyes, but the eye makeup was way too heavy, so I'd already picked some out and dialed down the eyelashes and things, but I still wasn't happy with the pupils. So I've since cut out all the yarn, and I'm going to show you in a minute, but I've actually used embroidery floss. Do you know when you get 6-stranded embroidery floss? I've used that, and I've basically darned them in, you know, like a duplicate stitch, like Swiss darning, is it? You know, when you basically do a stitch over a stitch in knitting, right? So I've done that with embroidery thread, and I'm a lot happier with it, which I'm going to show you. So these were my doll's shoes. I'm not saying I'm going to leave them on Eric. I'll probably do his own thing, but my doll's got her own socks now, and I much prefer the socks on her. So I think that's all the Eric talk I've got to do, so you know what my plans are with him. And I'm guessing next time I bring a video to you, I'd really like him to have his clothes. So what am I going to speak about next? So do you know what? I'm going to bring my doll out because obviously I've been talking about her. So this is the doll I knitted ages ago. Obviously I've tinkered around. She's had some new socks recently, but I've done different eyes. She probably still looks odd. Does she look odd? I don't know if she looks odd on camera, but to me, she looks so much better with the embroidery floss for her eyes. I think the yarn that I used was just too bulky, because basically I said to you I wasn't sure if I'd knitted her in 4-ply, and I haven't knitted her in 4-ply. She's been knitted in 100% acrylic, or her clothes and her body, but you knit them on really, really small needles that is smaller than what probably is recommended for double knit yarn, and so it's very tight. So I think that's why when I was trying to use double knit yarn to embroider the eyes, it was just far too bulky for her. But look at her pants. I knitted her pants when I knitted her. They're really cool, aren't they? So yeah, I really love this doll. I'm super proud of her. Like, I know I've knitted a lot of little things and crocheted a lot of little things, but these dolls, they're probably a lot more complicated than some of the things because there's no flat knitting involved. You basically knit them on double pointed needles, and you basically have 5 double pointed needles, and you're knitting in the round. So you start at the feet and you basically work up the legs, then you basically join them all together, and then knit the body so far up, knit the arms on double pointed needles, and then you join them all together and you knit up and up to the head. Now I've actually knitted something else of theirs, and it was probably even a bit more involved than the doll, believe it or not. So I'll just pop my doll there. Right, now Mary Angela and myself were discussing that we'd got the Arnie and Carlos Christmas ball book, and I was saying in one of my videos I've only knitted one ball, and I just basically knitted a plain ball in red glitter yarn. Now I haven't got it to hand, it's on my Christmas tree that's down in the garden room, so maybe at the end I'll go in to do some footage of it, maybe, or take a photograph. Maybe it'll pop up now, I don't know, or maybe you'll see at the end, I don't know. So we made a pact with each other that we were going to knit 6 of them this year, and that would mean you only have to knit 1 a month. So but then a few people have said they'd really like to get involved with it, and I said yes, of course, more the merrier. So basically, if you want to get involved with knitting a ball, the plan would be you'd need to get one done if you're to be on track, one during the month of January or February. You've got 2 months to make your first one, because basically that's all you'd have to do. So you'd do one between January and February, and then obviously we'll talk about the next one. So I basically knitted mine between Christmas and New Year because I wanted to have one ready for you to show you in this first video of January. So, and here is mine. Now I've decided to knit one with hearts on it. Reason being is I just thought it would be double whammy for Valentine's Day as well, wouldn't it? So I've just been hanging it on my my wooden drawing doll. So yeah, and I'm really very pleased with it. Obviously I felt quite keen to do it because I'd been doing a bit of recent colour work on my Christmas puddings, and I was kind of all in that frame mind, doing a bit of colour work. So yeah, it didn't seem too daunting, knitting up something shapely and doing the colour work. Now I have knitted one of their Easter eggs before, and that had colour work on it, and I wasn't all that impressed with my knitting on it, but I do think I've learnt a lot more about colour work since knitting that egg, and it was my first egg as well. So yeah, so here is my first one anyway. Now what do I need to do? Now I have knitted this in, they recommend knitting them in wool, and it's not a bad idea because they like to steam theirs. When they've knitted it, they like to put a wet cloth on top of them and just basically put the hot iron on and do that. Now I was a bit afraid to do this because the yarn I've used is the Stylecraft Special Life, and it's 75% acrylic, and it is 25% wool, which it's lovely. I really like it actually. It kind of gives you a best of both. It gives you that kind of bit like wool, but you're not paying the price of wool. But I have knitted can you remember what the yarn was that I knitted my socks in, my Christmas socks? I think that was 100% wool, not the cuff, but the main body of the sock. And I've used my leftovers. That's why it's quite a deep red. So I don't know if I should have gone with a bright red really. But yeah, I just used my leftovers. The cream's left over from when I bought yarns to make the knitted owl for my son after he had surgery. That was autumn last year, and I'd still got yarn left. So that's basically, I've got a good ball of cream left, and obviously I've used that leftover, and that's what it's good for, really. I don't know how wise that is, because if I want to knit any of the red balls with the cream on, I may struggle. So I might have to stick to the cream with red rather than red with cream for mine, because I'm not going to be able to match them. Now I'll show you the book. I've got 3 Arnie and Carlos books here, actually. I'll just move that there, actually. It might be in front of the lamp. That's oh, actually, I didn't mention about Eric. In the back of the pattern book for Eric, there's a lovely little story, and which is nice, that you can read about Luna and friends. So right, this is the knitted ball book. Now, all of Arnie and Carlos's patterns that I've knitted so far, I can't say it's the same for all of them, because I really don't know, but I've had to knit them on double pointed needles. Now, I totally understand it's not for everybody, but what I will recommend is, if you do want to give it a go, and you want to start knitting something very small, I wouldn't use the metal double pointed needles. I'd use like wooden or bamboo or something that's not so slippy, because it's quite easy if you're only saying casting on say four like you've got 2 stitches per needle in the round, you can lose them quite easily if you use metal. Wooden ones are a safer bet. So here's the book. Now, I think there's a newer edition of this book, because I think they look older on the newer edition, but I think I've got the first edition of it. But I think the contents are the same. Now, I photocopied my pattern piece just in case I wanted to draw on it, but I remember now I used this pattern when I did the plain ball, but I didn't really need it, because you can refer back to it. But I photocopied, I actually got a little bit of footage of a bit of me doing this, a little bit. I think I did a 3-minute video actually about this Christmas ball. And I'll put that in actually when I finish talking to you about it. So I found it was good to photocopy the page, and I just basically, every time I finished a row, I just crossed it out, and I was numbering, I was saying what row I'm doing at the time, and I found that was really useful to do. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that. I was thinking what I'll do is I'll do another heart one, and I can hang them for Valentine's. But if I wait to do another ball, the next one I could be starting would be April, and Valentine's will be over. So I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do this, but I might knit another ball that's a heart theme, or I might not. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. So is that everything I want to talk to you about? I think so. Yeah, I was a bit frightened to steam that, because I've done it before with acrylic. Don't do it. Basically, just don't do it, because I steam blocked, because that's what they recommend with the skirt, and this was 100% acrylic, and I just didn't like how it's okay, but yeah, I don't think you should do it really, not with acrylic. So maybe with wool you'd be totally fine, but acrylic, no, I wouldn't. So yeah, I was a little bit nervous about that. And now this is the knitted doll book that my doll was out of, but like I say, I didn't do the eyes out of this book. All the doll, the clothes and the socks are out of this book, Arnie and Carlos, but the eyes were out of the other book, which I'm about to show you. And that's the Arnie and Carlos Knit and Crochet Garden. Now, I have mentioned this book before. I crocheted this flower, which I've showed you. I might have showed you a photograph of it. And I basically had knitted a jumper out of it. And now the jumper was meant to be for Magnus the mouse. but I knitted it for Harry, didn't I? And I've got Harry here. Now this is the jumper out of that book, but the jumper doesn't have this one stripe like this. Let me get the pattern out for you. Try and stand Harry up. He's leaning forward a little bit. He's never going to stand. Here's the hippies that I was talking about. They're a smaller version, apparently, of the doll. And that's a picture of doing the embroidery for the eyes. So the embroidery on my doll's eyes looked like that to start with, but it did look a bit drag queen looking. But these were for the hippies, so that's probably what it is. Do you know what? Maybe I'll put a photograph on the screen of this. I think that's what the jumper should look like. It's very, very stripy all the way up, but mine isn't. I've done mine to look like a Gryffindor jumper. Wow, I was saying, do you remember me saying I wasn't sure if I was going to knit Magnus the mouse, right? Well, what happened is when I knitted the ball, I really had twitchy knitting fingers. I just wanted to cast on something else. But at the time, I really didn't feel like it was fair for me to start another ball without coming and discussing it with you first, because obviously I'm doing the knit along with you. And I didn't want to get that far ahead. You thought, oh, that's not fair. You've knitted 2 and we haven't even started. So I didn't want to do another one, right, to give you a chance to knit your first ball. But I was itching to knit something. So I've knitted Magnus the mouse. Now, I started him maybe the night before New Year's Eve, and I did do a bit of him New Year's Eve. We did actually, so basically we've been eating turkey like crazy. We've had turkey sandwiches, turkey curries. It was really nice. New Year's Eve, we went out for an Indian with my parents for a New Year's Eve dinner. We didn't let the New Year in there. We came home to do that. But we did go out for an Indian. I've got a point to this. So yeah, I did do some knitting on New Year's Eve, but probably not in the evening, probably the daytime. And a New Year's Day, basically I've just been knitting him then since New Year's Day. Where are we? I've knitted him the 2nd. Yeah, so I finished him on the evening of the 2nd, because it's the 3rd today. And here he is. Now, I'm so chuffed with him. He's so cute, isn't he? So basically, this jumper is supposed to be for this mouse. Now, I will admit, I've done him exactly as the pattern intended. I do think he looks a bit more like a rat than a mouse, really, compared to my other little mice. You know, he's got a very long snout and very pointy ears. Now, I have had a look at the mice in the pattern, and I do think they've really stuffed the nose out probably a little bit more than I have. But then I've looked at other ones they've done, and they've done a thinner looking snout as well. So, but oh, it's lovely. And I've knitted him in leftover yarn again from that knitted owl that I made for my son. And so it's Stylecraft Special Life. So it's 75% acrylic and 25% wool, and it just makes him so dreamy. He's just really soft, he is. I'm absolutely delighted with him. Now, obviously, he has taken me a while to knit, because you start very small, even smaller than the balls, on double pointed needles. You knit up the legs, a bit like the doll. You do the 2 legs, then join them. Look at his tummy. Now, I had to keep doing increases, which you can probably see here, increasing it. And I'm thinking, how big is this tummy going to be? And it just seemed to get bigger and bigger. And obviously, you don't really see the full extent of it until you stuff it. But I just love his little tummy, because the dolls don't have that. The dolls are very slender. So it was lovely doing this little tummy. Then you do the arms, and then you join them all together and then knit the head. Now, why he was a bit more involved than the doll is because basically you do the head right up to the top, but you get to a point where you have to leave some stitches on a stitch marker, and then to do the nose you have to pick up stitches all the way around the hole. You've got some on a marker under here, but you have to pick up about 9 stitches on each bit, really, on each needle. But oh, he's lovely, isn't he? And you do his tail. His tail is I-cord. So it's 4 stitches on just 2 needles, but double pointed needles. And yeah, I'm really, really delighted with him, I am. So now he needs a jumper, doesn't he? So he's getting a New Year jumper, which I've started. Which I'll just pop him there a moment. Now I've got my knitting bag that Mary Angela made for me. So I'm using this wool. Now I had a kit to make 2 penguins, to basically knit 2 penguins, which I bought from John Lewis a few years ago, and it was the penguins in the John Lewis Christmas advert, but I didn't end up making the I did start them, but I didn't end up finishing. I think it was just one of those years when I bought it, I wasn't feeling it. You know when you just have those years, don't you? And I didn't end up finishing it. So I've still got the yarn. So I've decided to use this yarn. So I'll show you what I've done so far. And also, I've got a freebie out of a knitting magazine. I wish I should have known I'd got this sooner. I wouldn't have had to have that late night trip to Dunelm to do that crochet star, the embroidery, because it's basically exactly the same. And I've used some of that. So far, like you normally start the body first, then the sleeves, but I've decided to make the sleeves first. So far, I've knitted 1 sleeve. So I've done it in black. It's 100% Rowan wool, and then I've done this glittery stripe with a black bit in between, just 1 row of black. It's going to look exactly the same as Harry's jumper with the stripes, but the stripe on this is going to be silver with no different colour in between. So what I'm hoping to do is, I wanted it like this because I wanted it to be like a New Year jumper, because he's going to be my first completed make of 2022. So maybe I'm going to embroider 2022 onto this jumper, so it's a little bit of a memory of the start of the year. So that is what is going on knitting wise. So I'm knitting a jumper for Magnus. Now I've had something turn up. Now I knew it was coming because Katie contacted me, and she was in the was you in the range? I think she was in the range, not Dunelm, I think it was the range. And she messaged me saying, which do you need Hermione or Ron Weasley dolls, because they're in here. Get back to me as soon as you can. And I did say that I'd got Hermione, but I haven't got Ron. And she said, right, I'm getting Ron for you. So Katie, thank you so much. Now Katie does know that Ron has arrived safely, and I have chatted with her, but obviously this is the first that you will know about it, everybody else. So I've got Ron here. I've put his cloak on because I don't have the cloaks on when they arrive in the box, but I've put his cloak on. So I think Ron is going to get a knitted jumper as well, but I don't think I'm going to knit him the Gryffindor jumper. I think I'm going to knit him the jumper that his mother knitted for him. I think it might have been in the second film, I'm not entirely sure, but she knitted him and Harry a jumper for Christmas, and it had an R on it for Ron, and Harry's had a H on it for Harry, but she did them in different colours. So I'm going to knit him the jumper his mum knitted for him. But Magnus has got to get his jumper first, then Ron's going to get his jumper. So there's that I'm working on. So I've got a lot of handwork to do, so there's a lot of knitting I want to do, some embroidery. I've got that bird I need to finish embroidering, the 4 calling bird, the Lauren, Corinne Lapierre. I was going to call her Lauren. And then obviously sewing in here is going to be Eric's clothes. So now, is there anything else I want to talk to you about before I go? Oh, there's one thing maybe I should mention. Now, you might have spotted something. If you're eagle-eyed, you might have spotted something here. Can you see her? A doll. Now, my mum, right, basically before Christmas, she walked past the charity shop and she saw a doll in the window, and it was looking in a bit of a mess. Her hair was all tangled, and this little doll had dark eyes and blonde hair, and she looked at it, and she said it reminded her of me when I was a little girl, because obviously I've got dark eyes and I was blonde, and she said she just felt really sorry for it. So she tried to brush her hair, but she hadn't done a great job of brushing her hair. Mum did admit this. And she put the doll in my sack at Christmas. So when I opened my presents off my parents at Christmas, this doll with all matted hair was in it. And I was thinking, what's this doing in here? Now, Christmas Day, I think it was Christmas Day, or Boxing Day. No, Boxing Night it was. So this was after I think I'd done some footage. I spent a whole film brushing the doll's hair, right? That's how long it took me to get all the tangles out of it. And there's a bottoms on display, and I've plaited her hair for the scrunchie was in the hair, but this doll, bless her, so Mum has gifted me this second-hand doll and said she just thought, you know, I could give it some love. So Mum said I could make her some clothes and things, but she's come in these gorgeous pyjamas. Now, I found out what these dolls are called. They're called Our Generation dolls. And but I love her little pyjamas. I think they're really very sweet. She's an 18-inch doll, and I know there are lots of patterns you can get for these dolls, 18-inch dolls. And I know I've got a book somewhere called My 18-Inch Doll. Somewhere anyway, and so there are clothes, but I do love her pyjamas. But maybe she could do with some socks or something, because I had a look for this doll online. Now the doll, I don't know what outfit the doll would have had when she was bought, but this pyjama outfit is an actual outfit that you can buy separately for these dolls, and she's meant to have slippers and a little toy dog. So she is missing something on her feet. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to sort her out some footwear and maybe a little toy for her to hold. So yeah, Mum's given me a little project to work on, hasn't she? But yeah, Mum said she just saw her, felt sorry for her, thought it reminded her of me when I was a little girl. And yeah, and she sent her here. So yeah, so we've got a new resident at Periwinkle Cottage Crafts, as I call myself. If you're not familiar with that term, if you only follow me on YouTube and Instagram, I was Periwinkle Cottage Crafts and still am on Facebook, and I've been that for many years. I did try to change it. So yes, we do call ourselves Periwinkle Cottage here. So I really hope you've liked seeing what I've made between Christmas and New Year and going into the new year. And I hope you're looking forward to seeing some of the up and coming things that hopefully I'm going to be showing you. So yeah, so that is it for now. I will show you some footage, if I haven't already, of the first ball I knitted, a plain one. It's not a bad idea to knit a plain one first, if you want to get yourself familiar with the pattern. And what else? And I'll show you the footage. What I'll do is, before I go, I'll send you over to the footage of my knitted ball journey, and I warn you, it's 3 minutes. So right, I'll be back in a moment. So I hope you like seeing that little 3-minute video that I took of my my knitted balls journey, knitting it up, and I really hope you enjoy knitting yours. If you need any advice, please get in contact with me. Do bear in mind, if you're doing, there are different decreases and increases you have to do if it involves the colour work, so make sure you read the book carefully at the start so you can make note of that. And they do their increases by lifting stitches from the row below, one of the legs of the stitches. You know, like with, you know, those knitted mice that I did, Amanda Berry, you like knit front into front of the stitch and the back of stitch to do increases. Some people make you increase by lifting up the bar in between stitches. Every designer has their own way, but that's how they increase. And I know they also increase by sometimes lifting a leg even below another row below, but it doesn't mention that in the book, so I don't think you need to worry about that for these balls anyway. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Stitch Diaries. I really hope there's something you enjoyed hearing about and something you're looking forward to. And do you know what, I've really missed speaking to you daily, and it's really crazy trying to remember everything I want to talk to you about. Now it's been like a whole week since I last sat in front of the camera, but yeah, it's just, it does make me be able to maybe work on things, because obviously you've basically been able to see a finished mouse. If I was filming daily, you'd have had to see every drawn out bit. Oh, this is how many rows I've knitted today. So yeah, you haven't got to see every stage or something. Might get a bit boring, mightn't it? So anyway, I am going to go now because I've finished my drink and I'm dying of thirst. But thank you so much for joining me for this first episode of 2022, and may it be the first of very many. We can hope, can't we, that we get lots of crafting time, and it's a real good time to reflect on what you want to get crafting this year. Are there any goals? It's good to have a goal, I think. I'm kind of normally thinking about things I haven't got done that I wanted to, and things like that. So I suppose these books are books I've had ages, so it's kind of getting round to books that I haven't made things in. Well, I have made things out of them, but there's more things, and it's been quite nice because I own the books, I own the yarn. It's been no spending or anything, so which has been really nice to, you know, it's lovely when you can just whip something up without spending any money, isn't it? I know obviously you've bought that yarn in the past and you've bought those books in the past, but when they've been sitting around for so long not doing anything, it's lovely to get the use out of them, isn't it? So anyway, I am going to go now. I know I can talk for England, so thank you so much, and yeah, and I'll see you next time. Now, I'm sure there was some baking I want to include in this video. Do you know what? I'll include it in the next one. My son has been, two of my sons have been baking, so I'd love to share their baking with you. But do you know what? I'll include it in my next video. So I'll see you next time. Bye.